The Daily Jaws 50th Anniversary interview series is a collection of amazing conversations exploring the legacy of Steven Spielberg's screen adaptation of Jaws through the eyes of the fans. We'll be talking to famous fans, shark experts, people whose lives have been changed by the movie, and those that were there that helped to make the film. We'll also be telling you about two amazing organisations that are very close to our hearts. Anyway, that's enough from me. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show.
Jaws was actually the first adult novel I ever read in my life. I remember distinctly carrying that paperback to school every day. Every time you see best movies of all time, Jaws is always up there. There's no movie ever like Jaws.
Hey guys, it's Ross over at the Daily Jaws with another exclusive 50th anniversary interview. Today's guest is a novelist, publisher. He's also a songwriter and guitarist for the band Broken Hope. He's also one of the world's foremost collectors of Jaws memorabilia, and he's also a very, very good friend of the Daily Jaws. Guys, it gives me a huge amount of personal pleasure to welcome Mr. Jeremy Wagner to the Daily Jaws. Jeremy, how are you?
I'm doing great, Ross. Thanks for having me. I'm a huge fan of the Daily Jaws, as you know. You're a great friend, and just great to be here. And this is the 50th anniversary of Jaws this year. So, man, what a great reason to get together.
Yeah, man, it's ridiculous because when I think about Jaws, for me, it still feels quite fresh, even though it's been a massive part of my movie life for decades now. When was the first time you saw Jaws, and what do you remember about that experience?
So my Jaws journey, if you will, started with actually Peter Benchley's paperback edition of Jaws, which in 1975 was everywhere here in the United States. At the time, I lived in central Wisconsin, and I was always a horror monster kid as long as I could remember, right? So I remember whether it was going with my mom to a grocery store, to the pharmacy, gas station, anywhere you could think of, that paperback was everywhere. And I was immediately taken in by that Roger Castell artwork. I'm, 4 or 5 years old. I turned 5 in the summer of 75. So around that age, I'm just fascinated by this book cover of this giant shark and this naked, skinny dipping woman swimming above him. That big shark you could see he could eat her in one bite.
Yeah.
And I just was sucked into that. And I knew about Jaws being in the theaters, but my mom didn't take me to see Jaws. And when I mention my mom, she's always the one who bought me every book I wanted and every horror magazine and everything. So I begged her, please, will you buy me this paperback of Jaws? And my mom probably, I don't remember every detail. I do remember her giving a little bit of pause, like, there might be some things in there you might not understand. And as we know, the novel's a lot different than the movie between, spoiler alert, Hooper and Chief Brody's wife having an affair, different things like that. So my mom was like, all right, I'll buy it for you. But there's some stuff in there that, that you might not understand, but she bought it for me. And Ross, I remember distinctly carrying that paperback to school every day and being on the school bus, reading to my classmates like that opening line, what is it? The great fish moves silently through the night water. And that's a hell of an opening line, by the way. And so my fascination with Jaws started there. Jaws was actually the first adult novel I ever read in my life. So I went from, Where the Wild Things Are by Maurice Sendak and all these kids' books, in the Jaws, and I
Mm.
just I read the whole thing cover to cover, and I did ask questions like, hey, what's this mean? And I remember even my aunts. That's the other thing about Jaws, the paperback being everywhere.
Mm.
My mom came from a family of 10 kids. So I have a lot of aunts and uncles. They all had that paperback too. So even at their houses and stuff, and I'd be like, what's this mean or whatever? And they're like, I don't know if you should be reading that. But I became obsessed with Jaws at that point. And that said, yeah, my parents, they didn't like take me to theater to see Jaws. I actually had to wait about 4 years. I think around 79 is when Jaws first came to television
Mm.
in the United States. I think it was right around 79. And in somewhere in my Jaws collection, I actually have a poster. Um, I could be wrong. I think it was ABC, or I'm pretty sure it was ABC was the network that premiered Jaws on TV. So I have this
Yeah.
ABC, premiere Jaws poster, so that's when I first saw it. And what's funny about seeing Jaws for the first time is in 79, my parents were divorced. So I would get to be with my dad on weekends. And I'm pretty sure Jaws premiere on TV was around on a Sunday night. And much like the novel, I begged my parents, please, can I stay up and watch Jaws on TV? Sunday night was the weekend was over. That was my time for my dad to bring me back to mom's place. So my parents talked about it, and they agreed. Okay, he can watch Jaws with you. My mom's telling my dad, Paul. My mom's name is Ann. So my mom's telling, hey, Paul, Jeremy can watch Jaws with you on TV, but when it's over, bring him back.
Tonight, an ABC Sunday night movie special. Tonight, the most exciting movie ever made comes to television.
And I remember, I'm watching with my dad and one of his buddies at his house, and all these adults had seen Jaws in the theater, but I never did. So when they catch the tiger shark and they got it on the dock, I remember my dad and his friend going, "Oh, look, they caught the shark. Movie's over." And I was like, "What? It can't be over. No, no, no." And they were just getting me riled up on purpose. It was like, this is it, the movie, you're going home. They were just doing it to get me stirred up.
Yeah.
Expense. Yeah, I was just blown away by the movie. Again, around 9 years old, 79. And instantly loved the three main characters. Quint was my favorite. Loved Robert Shaw. And I cried when Quint got eaten by the shark. I remember that. I was bawling. Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, everything else was terrifying, and compelling and just so well done. But I was immediately into Quint. And
Yeah.
I was crying because I'm like, no, Quint, no, I got eaten. But that's how I got into Jaws initially, and when I first saw it was on TV.
That echoes so much of what other guests have said throughout the series. They seem to have sort of three Jaws moments, or three Jaws firsts. It's the book, the movie on TV, or the movie in theaters. And there sort of doesn't seem to be any particular order in which that kind of happens. People seem to find Jaws either on TV through the book, or in the cinema. And one of the things that you said there about Quint being your favorite character. I mean, my relationship with the three characters has changed over the years, but I think one of the reasons why Jaws is so rewatchable, and particularly for me when I first saw the movie, because like you, I saw it on TV with my mum. As soon as I watched it, I wanted to watch it again because I was fascinated by the shark, but also I wanted to rewatch it for Quint, because when you first see him in that town hall and you see him all the way through the movie up until the final few moments, you have a certain impression of who this guy is. And then that's completely flipped on its head when the Annapolis speech happens. Yeah. And then you really think, oh my God, he's not who I thought he was. I've completely misjudged him. And I now understand why he is the way that he is. But then when you rewatch Jaws again, knowing who Quint actually is, you see a completely different performance in the same performance, because you think, oh my God. So for me, that's why, one, it's an absolute crime that none of the actors, let alone Robert Shaw, but none of the lead actors got Oscar nominated. But also, it's one
Mm.
of the all-time great performances of any kind of acting, whether it's cinema acting or stage or whatever, because there are so many different ways to watch that performance of Quint, and it's just amazing. I mean, even to this day, is Quint still your favorite character, or do you kind of sort of do you just float in and out of different ones, or is he always going to be your favorite?
Well, going back to when I was a kid, seeing it the first time, I vividly remember when the three main characters, Hooper, Brody, and Quint, were really captivating. I mean,
Mm.
I really loved Richard Dreyfuss as Hooper. You know, he
Yeah,
had this levity about him, and he just made me laugh. And you know, he knew everything about sharks, and he's the guy that they needed. Brody, he's the new police chief. Uh, Roy Scheider, what a brilliant actor. I loved him. Just
phenomenal.
took me. He was a hero to me as a kid. And
Mm.
then and then yeah, and then there's Quint, sort of the anti-hero. But
Mm.
that's because of his character's persona, but he's also the hero. Because not that the other two are not to diminish the other two characters, but look, he's the guy who's like, I'll go get this shark. You know, I'm the guy. If anybody's going to get it, I will.
Mm.
And that when I refer to him as a hero, it's because when you know what you're dealing with this shark, this titanic shark out there, um, who really has, let's face it, the balls to go out to find this thing. Sure, all
Yeah,
the fishermen came around from the eastern seaboard in
yeah,
big groups throwing dynamite and hunting for it and stuff, but this guy is just going out with two other guys, and that if you never saw Jaws before, you know that they're going into something that they're either going to live through or not. And for
yeah.
me, he's really a hero in that respect. So these are takeaways from being a kid till now. But I would say today, yeah, Quint is my favorite character.
Mm. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
He seems to be a popular choice because we've talked about sort of who people's favorite characters are in the movie, and Quint is definitely one of them. And I also love the supporting characters as well. You know, that whole community, that whole island feel. You know, I think one of the all time great moments in cinema, let alone Jaws, is the Mrs. Kintner slap doc scene. You know, that just really
Yes.
brings home the gravity of the situation, because people, real people, not just the fact that these people are dying, but the impacts of those deaths, are really
Right.
important. And also,
Right.
Jaws is such a funny film as well. There are so many comedic moments. Did you have a favorite funny moment in Jaws?
Oh God, there's many. I mean, even just little things like Jeffrey Kramer, the deputy. You know, Brody's waiting for Hooper to arrive. All the sportsmen are around, and Brody's in this little like hut thing on the docks, and he throws something at the window to get Hendrix's attention, and Hendrix has got a cigarette, and he waves, and
Yeah,
it's just like it's comedic in a way because it's like, the deputy is kind of this happy-go-lucky guy, and he's just like, "Oh, hi, Chief," and Brody's got so much on his hands, he's like, "Dude, I'm not throwing something at the window to just wave at you. Get your ass in here." I mean, just a little small detail, but then the guy on the dock with the tiger shark, Hooper shows up and he goes, "That's a tiger shark," and everybody knows, "Oh, what?" You
yeah.
know, that's hilarious. And then aside from Robert Shaw's monologue, um, you know, Chief Brody and his wife go to the docks just before they're getting ready to go out to sea,
Mm.
and there's Robert Shaw on his boat, and he's reciting whatever, like dirty limericks, and then, "Hey, Chief, see, you got your rubbers and stuff like that. Just cracked me up, And then the conflict between Hooper and Quint on the boat, and this is all that levity we're talking about. Hooper,
Yeah.
his face going, and all right, arg, arg, all righty. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of that woven through that movie as well.
I love that moment, or that bit with the. But the only thing about that is he's got the gloves on, and that can't have tasted nice.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
And there was the other one.
Details like that too, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there was the other one as well, where I think Brody's got Hooper's glasses in his mouth as he's sort of putting Hooper into the cage, and it's like, yeah, that's going to taste of ear and hair and all kinds of stuff. It's like, wow, some of these details are disgusting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Hooper coming to the Brody house, after Chief Brody's had a hard day. He got slapped by, Mrs. Kittner.
Yeah.
He's inebriated, and you got a tender moment with his son, where his son's mimicking how he looks, and then Hooper shows up with some wine. And he's like, you might want to let that breathe. And he's just pouring the whole bottle into a glass. That's kind of funny. And then he's like, you can eat that. And, he just takes the whole plate. There's so many elements in there, man, like you're talking about that just, are unforgettable. I felt like a nerd, but it's like.
No, but this is the whole point of these conversations, to explore these little nooks and crannies of detail that are in Jaws. I mean, like the moment you just highlighted there, where the chief is just pouring wine into a pint glass and no one says anything.
Right.
As a kid, I watched that and I just think, oh, Chief's thirsty. He's had a tough day. He's not thirsty. He's in need of, some numbness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bear with me a second, Jeremy. I'm sorry. I've just got a little technical thing going on. Bear with me just one second. Sorry, bud. I see the problem. Hang on. Here we go. Oh, there we go.
Sure thing. While you got that, give me 1 second. I'm going to grab something. Yes.
No problem.
When you want me to, if you want, if it's convenient at your pleasure, what I wanted to share with you and the viewers at some point is I actually have the original paperback.
You like this?
And then, hey, what's happening?
I
just noticed you there. What's up, buddy?
I feel like I've known you my entire life.
Jeffrey, it's good to see your face, my friend. You said,
I swear to God, I feel like I've known you forever, since we were kids.
Me too. I get the funniest stuff from you. You make me laugh every other day.
I thought you'd appreciate it.
Yeah. Oh, I sure do.
I don't know why. We don't even know each other really, but I just had this affinity towards you, and I thought, what an interesting guy. Very cool. And I love that you love this movie.
Dude, I love it so much. And Jeffrey, let me tell you, 5-year-old Jeremy Wagner would never imagine being able to talk to the great Jeffrey.
Oh, no. You saw it when you were 5 years old?
I'm telling you, yeah.
Oh, I was excited to meet you today. I thought, oh, this is cool, because I know I send you stuff, and I go, he'll like this.
Oh, like it. I love it. Ross, do you understand? You just made my whole 2025 right now.
Oh, please. It's brand new, my dear.
Yeah, man. What a friggin' awesome surprise. Really great to see you, Jeffrey.
Are the other guys in your group, are they Jaws fans?
They all love Jaws.
They do, because of you, probably.
There's definitely guys that in my bands, and even mutual friends, they're not as big a fan as me. I'm like next level. I'm like,
Yeah.
Ross is up there. Charlie Benante, I'm somewhere up there, But yeah, they all have an appreciation for Jaws. And in recent years, I've had the pleasure, I guess, of turning young people on to Jaws for the first time.
Really?
In my home theater. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have like theater seating and stuff?
Just just like a little mini theater at
500 seater.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Not quite 500, but
Yeah.
You could get a couple dozen people in there, but it's a great,
That's a big theater.
it's a great experience, and I explain why the movie holds up after all this time, and how great it is. Of course, I'm a super fan when I'm telling that, but when you break it down, and Jeffrey, you're so fortunate. You got to work with Steven Spielberg, and Spielberg basically ended up taking from the Alfred Hitchcock book. It's the suspense.
I get it.
It's that book. It keeps you on the edge of your seat.
He shot it at water level. The camera's at the level of the water, and I didn't realize how smart it was till later, in the idea that we're right there. It's right there in your face, and it was so
right.
And, they kept telling us they're going to pull the plug in the middle of it. We might never finish this movie. This is like a perfect creative storm. Everything came together. Ben Gardner's head coming out of the boat, that was done in Verna Field swimming pool.
In her swimming pool. I read that. Yeah. The mother cutter.
Yeah. She was so warm and kind, and she was great. We used to know an usher who'd let us in every night. When Ben Gardner's head comes out, you'd see soda. On my life, soda, popcorn flying in the air. It was unbelievable.
That's one of my takeaways. When I was telling Ross about seeing Jaws for the first time, I saw it on TV. I didn't get to see it in the theater at the time. I had the paperback, thanks to my mom, in 1975, and that's the first adult novel I read. But man, that's another takeaway. Just came to my mind, guys, is when Ben Gardner's head pops out. You talk about the all-time jump scares. That scared the hell out of me. Holy crap.
Bet.
I think Greg Nicotero's got that Ben Gardner head. If I'm not
He does. And Greg, who redid the shark, he did another one, and it hangs in one of his living rooms at his house. A 9-10-foot shark.
Don't kid.
From the ceiling in his living room. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
Oh,
that's a super fan too. I've talked to Greg.
Big time.
The joke was, if any of us went to prison, you got 6 months off of any jail term just for doing Jaws 2 in Pensacola.
Yeah.
In those days, you'd see a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier in the background. You had no choice but just to wait till it passed. It was unbelievable.
Wow, that's crazy.
Jeremy, thanks for letting me hog your podcast here. But
you're welcome. Any time. This was a pleasant surprise. And hey, mi casa, su casa. If you're ever in Miami Beach in winter or in Chicagoland in summer, hit me up.
You bet.
I can show you my Jaws museum.
Oh yeah, yeah.
My wife's a great cook too.
Talking about people, I said, you got to call Jeremy X. Wagner. And he goes, oh, he's on my list. You were way up on his list, boy. Because he knows your collection and stuff. Jeremy, I look forward to it, my dear.
Hey, me too, my friend. Jeffrey.
All right, kid.
You rock, man. You really made my year. And thank you, Ross. This is awesome. Jeffrey, really good to see your face.
What a pleasure.
Hey guys, it's Ross. I hope you're enjoying this week's episode. Bruce and I just wanted to take a moment to tell you about a couple of the organisations that we've been working with, and also some of the new products you can find in our store. Minorities in Shark Sciences, or MISS for short. A non-profit founded in 2020 that champions diversity in shark, ray and marine sciences. MISS creates equitable opportunities for historically underrepresented communities through hands-on programs and believes that diverse scientists bring diverse ideas, driving the innovation essential for ocean conservation. Representation matters, and MISS is making sure the next generation sees a place for themselves in marine biology. Learn more and support their mission at missalesmo.org. The mission of the Tourette Association of America is to provide help and hope to those affected by Tourette syndrome, tic disorders, and associated conditions through awareness, research, and support. It's the only national organisation serving the community and works to raise awareness, advance research, and provide ongoing support to patients and families impacted by Tourette syndrome and tic disorders. To this end, the Tourette Association of America directs a network of 31 chapters, 83 support groups, and recognises 18 centres of excellence across the country. It's a non-profit organisation, and is extremely close to the heart of not just Jeffrey Kramer, but also his family. The Daily Jaws store is home to some of the world's most exciting Jaws products, including screen-accurate barrels and tanks, a chalkboard shark shadow caster, a yellow barrel koozie, an orca transom and 3 yellow barrel keychains, and much more. Visit store.thedailyjaws.com. For non-US orders, please email orders@thedailyjaws.com. Thanks for listening. Now back to the show. This is probably my favourite part of the interview. I'm going to ask you some controversial questions now.
Okay.
In terms of the victims in Jaws, you've got Chrissy, Pippet, Alex, Ben Gardner, the estuary victim, and Quint. If you could only save one, who would you save and why?
I like most animals more than people. I might want to say Pippet, but I would probably, aside from that, that's one part serious, one part pun, of course. But I would probably try to save Chrissy Watkins. As much as Quint's my favorite character, and I cried when he died, after 50 years, there's a different perspective. I also have a Quint. This is a guy who was a World War II survivor of the USS Indianapolis. Didn't wear a life vest ever. Hard-nosed. You saw his shack. He had 1,000, sets of shark jaws, and he'd been around the block for a while. So my feeling is he was ready to go. It's kind of like when, not just his age and what he's been through, but he's had a hell of a full life. And even though he died brutally, and I hated to see him go, Chrissy Watkins, and I could say the same about Ben Gardner. I love Ben Gardner. That's the last guy you want to see get killed, Mr. Jolly, good-hearted guy, right? And then, there's those conspiracy theories that Quint might have killed Ben and all that stuff. That's a whole nother thing I won't digress on. But Chrissy Watkins, overall, no. Well, before I tell you about Chrissy, why I want to save her, the estuary victim has always struck me as this guy, and I've had conversations about this with a couple friends, that he's like the guy that no one in Amity really, no one cared. Like, this guy just got the boat tipped over and got eaten, his leg goes down and stuff, but we don't even know his name. Everyone's more concerned, about Chief Brody's kid, and all this stuff. So it was almost like, he's collateral damage and whatnot. Now, my point of view is, I hate to see anyone get killed by a shark. The guy was even trying to help the kids, how you doing over there, but Ben Gardner, older guy like Quint, estuary victim, kind of he was rowing a boat out there. I don't know what he's doing, but unfortunately he died. But Chrissy Watkins, young woman, vivacious, full of life, had her whole life in front of her. And I'd hate to see a young person die like that. Well, that said, damn it, you know what? No, sorry. Alex Kidd, I want to save him. I'm sorry. He's the one. I'm going back to being 5 and, seeing, being enamored with beautiful, long blonde haired, skinny dipping woman. Reminds me of some of my hippie aunts I grew up with who would skinny dip in that country lake I was telling Jeffrey about. Yeah. But Alex Kidner's just a kid.
Yeah.
So for me, I would want to save that kid and his poor parents. What parent wants to lose a child, especially that age?
Yeah.
So the Kidner kids who I want to save the Kidner, Alex Kidner.
Because I think it's a good answer, and a lot of people have said Alex, unless they're clear animal lovers and they want to say Pippet. But I think for me, it's a toss up between Alex and the Holiday Roast. I'm not too
Mhm.
sure which I would save. I'd probably, I think, do you know what it is? I think Alex is a good choice because I think as well, you've got that horrific aftermath of the scene on the dock with Mrs. Kintner. And when she slaps
Yes.
Chief Brody and really makes it real, because, and this is something that actually it annoys me a little bit, and you see it posted on Jaws pages and also film pages sometimes. Is I've never felt quite as old as Mrs. Kintner, and I'm like, yeah, she is older. She's an older mum, and we don't know the backstory. I mean, she could have adopted him. She could have had a child
Right.
later in life, but one thing's for sure, she's probably never going to have another child again, and she's lost that opportunity for happiness and that future because the mayor and chief and everyone else kept the beaches open when they knew they shouldn't have done. Do you know
Right.
what I mean? And I'm just like, for me,
I
that's
know.
the other victim in Jaws,
I
Mrs.
know. I know exactly what you mean because I'm a writer, so I always have an overactive imagination, and I
Mm.
do internal deep dives into stuff, just observing stuff. For example, when you see Mrs. Kintner on the dock, is do you know this at all? Because I actually don't know. There's a really old dude with her. Is
Mm.
that supposed to be her husband or her father? Was it
Not
Alex?
entirely sure.
Yeah.
No one's
Is
entirely sure who that person is, but it's interesting that it's another older person because again, that could
right.
have been anybody behind her. So it's sort of emphasizing her age in a way.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? In a
Right.
roundabout way, like it's making age a thing because those two are in that shot, and then it cuts to Brody, and then obviously the amazing slap scene. It's like,
And I
yeah.
take things to another level with my gears turning with just what you said or thoughts I've had before is like, what's the backstory on Mrs. Kintner? Um, was Alex like a late in life baby,
Mm,
right? You know, like my mom, when I said she comes from a family of 10 kids, they're all like mostly Irish Catholic. So
mm,
I remember my maternal grandma, I said, was a kid, I'm like, why, you had 10 kids. Why do you have 10 kids, grandma? And she's like, oh, I wanted to have even more. I was always like, holy shit. And, but there's, like my mother-in-law, she's Irish Catholic and she was a late in life baby.
mm,
Like
mm.
the youngest sibling in the family before her. My mother-in-law was the youngest. There was like a 12-year gap. So the point of going into this friggin' crazy deep dive on Mrs. Kintner
Mm.
is, was Alex a late in life baby or was he adopted? We know one thing, that was her only child, no matter which way you cut it. And
Yeah.
what a whole thing. And breaking it down even more, she was that close to not letting him go back in the water, but he was begging her, like
God,
look at
yeah.
your fingers out, So
Yeah.
imagine that kind of guilt on her head too.
Yeah.
Like I could have,
Just
you know what I mean?
how often did she relive
Oh
that
man,
moment? Yeah, that
no,
must have been
right,
overplaying in her mind all the time.
right.
She had the chance to keep him
And
out of the water.
you weave that in that
Yeah.
that that guilt, like I shouldn't have let him go out back out there. I almost had him, and I love him, and I said, okay, go back out, but for a little bit. You take that and
Yeah.
that knowledge that the guys running the town, the mayor and everyone knew there was this giant predator out there,
Mm,
and didn't do anything to warn anybody because they
mm.
just cared about making those summer dollars. So it's pretty heavy,
It,
when you
it,
think
it,
about
it,
all
it,
that.
it really is. It's and the thing for me as well, like the psychology of Jaws or some of it. And then again, I'm not a professor. I know very little about psychology, but when you think about just the character of Quint, obviously he
Mhm.
went through that horrific experience on the Indianapolis. No one can argue that's a tragic and it's left its trauma. He's carrying probably survivor's guilt, PTSD, a combination of things. But the interesting thing for me about Quint is that he chose to be a shark hunter in spite of that. Specifically a shark
Right,
hunter. When we see the
right.
shack, all he's got is jaws of sharks, and it's like this is his trophy cabinet, and it's also proof
Yes,
that he's good at what he does, so he can win more business. Okay, that's Quint
right.
in a nutshell. But the other thing as well that interests me is, and again, there's been a few different interpretations of this in the course of these conversations, but the moment where the shark appears just after the chumming and the bigger boat moment, and Quint comes
Mhm.
out and he sees the shark come in, and we sort of see it over Quint's shoulder, and then it cuts to this amazing shot of Robert Shaw. You can read that as him just going, "Okay, there's a shark coming at us." But I actually think, and again, I wish Robert was still alive, or there was a record of him being asked this question. What were you trying to convey in that moment? Because I read that as almost like fear or recognition of his own demon that's just come to get him. I think he kind of knows deep down this is the shark that's gonna get him. His past has finally caught up with him, and that because one of the things that I've noticed, and again, this isn't a massive epiphany or anything, but when Quint is pulled under the water by the shark at the end when he's died, the sound that he makes, and again, everything in this movie is a very specific choice, even down to the sound
Right.
design. It's like a when he goes under the water, it's like he's finally at peace because he's met his destiny.
Oh,
Do you
right.
know what I mean? And it's just like,
Right.
and again, if I was to ever get the chance to interview Steven Spielberg, not that he thinks about these things as deeply because he's moved on since then. Because let's be honest, things worked out. Things worked out for Steven Spielberg, but
Right.
it's like, was that a deliberate choice? Is that what you're trying to signify in that moment of him being pulled under the water? He's now at peace because he's met the destiny that he manifested himself by putting himself back in the firing line of the shark because he chose to become a shark hunter in spite of this horrific experience. It's just the mind boggles.
Right.
The mind boggles. It really does.
Right. Yeah. I
Oh,
totally get it. That's absolutely
yeah.
fascinating.
That's not me losing my mind. That does make
No,
sense. Okay.
I'm the same way. I'm the same way you are. There's one conversation I had with Charlie Benante that really got me. That I, I think to most viewers it wouldn't even be evoke emotion like it does with Charlie and me. But I think you'll get this. It's Quint being such a hard-edged blue collar guy post World War II, making his own living as a shark fisherman. He's kind of like in a way, the black sheep of the town. Everyone knows what he
Definitely an
does for a
outsider.
living and all that. And
Yeah.
he's zero shit. He's like too many captains on this island. He's fine being a solo dude. He had that one, mate that never joined him on the trip and whatnot. But there's the scene where, as you've gone through the movie, you've seen the interaction between him and Hooper. Hooper's this highly educated guy from a wealthy family, the polar opposite of what Robert Shaw, either his origins are or his work ethic or anything. And as they're working together on the Orca, they're bumping heads and all this. But when they put that shark cage together and Hooper's in there, he goes, "I got no spit." There's a look on Quint's face between the two that gets me right here. Charlie is the same way. Charlie Benante, we're like, that is, you could either say it's maybe Spielberg genius, accidental or on purpose, but the expression and the couple of seconds of banter and "I got no spit." There's a moment you can feel where Quint's like, no, he's got massive respect for Hooper. He sees this guy is super brave. He's going to try to kill a shark. They've tried everything they could. And it's all of that. It's this even legit concern for Hooper, not just being impressed by his bravery. There's this concern. And that to me, for me, that evokes a certain emotion for me where I'm like, it just gets me out.
No,
So,
no,
you're not crazy and I'm not crazy.
Good.
We see things that,
this
maybe everyone else. Yeah.
This is what I'm loving about these conversations because they're so insightful. People are seeing different things in different moments of the movie, but also it's kind of like Jaws therapy. You know, people are like,
Yes.
I'm not going crazy, am I?
Thanks, therapy. Yes.
But there's yeah, hello everybody, welcome to Jaws therapy. So I think I mean just that moment though, because that is highlighted, and I've seen it highlighted in conversations before, not conversations I've had, but other conversations people have had about just really great editing choices. Because obviously in that moment you could cut to anything. You could cut to anything you wanted to, and
Right.
they've cut to Quint with that amazing look. It's almost like a guy looking down into a grave, like almost like accepting the fact that there's a very slim chance that this guy's ever going to come back. And I think there's two things I'd probably add to that. I think obviously one of the preceding moments to that is um the scene where they're singing and there's that
Mhm.
incredible
Yes.
bonding moment. But I
Bonding.
think yeah, but I think for Hooper and Quint, that's about it's almost bordering on forgiveness in terms of I've misunderstood who you are. I now understand who you are
Right.
because you've revealed yourself to me. More obviously more Quint than Hooper in that moment. But then obviously that moment of respect, I think, is paid back as well when Hooper resurfaces after Brody's just shot the shark and everything's sort of back to normal, if you like. And Hooper swims over to Brody and just says, Quint. And Brody says no. And you look at that moment in Dreyfus, and it's just like,
Yeah.
damn. It's like, damn, that
Yeah.
was it's a shame he's gone because that's someone I could have gone back to shore with and I could have gotten to know a little bit better and maybe call a friend. Not to say that they were friends at that point, but they were definitely connected. They understood each other a bit better.
Right. Yep. And the
Yeah.
same with when they're bonding and singing down in the galley. That's where an opportunity happens where Quint's actually learning that, this guy Hooper, uh, wasn't, just some rich kid. Like when he was younger, he had a boat, the whole
Mm,
Thresher story. And
yeah.
that, ruined his boat and he basically swam to shore and
Mm,
he's had it's no USS Indianapolis by any means, but
yeah.
it's relatable to them, to the two of them. Meanwhile, you got Brody who's scared to death of the water, and why are you living on an island? Well, it doesn't look like an island when you're on it, you know what I mean?
Mm,
So there's a number of points there in that moment, that bonding, a common connection. They're in one way, shape, or form, both of them are seamen in a way,
mm, yeah.
They're,
And
and
it's
they
that
have their own interests in sharks. One's definitely wants to kill them all, and one's into
yeah.
studying them. But there are all these dynamics that kind of are synergies, if you will.
Mm. It,
When
it's
you
it's
really,
it's it's really great to be able to sort of just explore some of the themes around the movie in this way because again, a lot of people just think it's a movie about a fish, but then when you keep watching it again and again, you sort of see different things in it. I mean, when I first watched the movie, I didn't even realize it at the time, but it was like my first lesson in authority, because you've got the chief of police, the doctors, the press, the mayor of the town. They're all making the wrong decision. It's bordering on a cover up and complicity. Do you know what I mean? It's really shady stuff. And how, the lesson there is the people that are in charge don't always know what to do. They're not always equipped to deal with the problem. And sometimes they'll just make the wrong decision for the wrong reasons. So your best interests aren't always at heart, no matter what you think. And I'm just like, I learned that at 5. Jaws told me that. Do you know what I mean? It's like it tells you that life
yeah,
lesson just very quickly. I mean, what do
yeah.
you think if it's not about a fish? What do you think Jaws is about? What do you think it's trying to tell us?
I think it's um, I think it's about uh, a lot of it has to do with, follow me on this, with um, complacency, even in the face of extreme tragedy. Where if you look at Amity,
Mm,
they've been going by for, Amity means friendship. And I don't know how many years, the fictional Amity existed. But, you got this town that doesn't have any major problems.
mm,
It's a town where, it's a close-knit community. They, the sure, we all know that the mayor is unscrupulous as they come,
Mm.
but that's part of his character, and all they care about is when I say complacent, it's just that they've been used to everything being the same routine over and over again.
Mm.
Summer tourists bring summer dollars, and in the winter we all hunker down. But we have nothing to worry about in life. There's no major tragedy, and then two things come to that town that shake it up. The new chief of police,
Mm.
who's not wasn't part of that community, and he's from the big city, and he has his own sets of values in doing the right thing.
Mm.
You got an unscrupulous mayor. Whoever Chief Brody's predecessor was, probably, played ball like the mayor and all these guys. Who knows what else they did for graft or whatever. We know in the novel, the mayor's got some tie with the mafia.
Mm.
So here comes a real legit do-gooder police chief that is nothing like, again, whoever his predecessor may have been, and not like the rest of the townsfolk. I mean, the guy cares about people. It seems like when I say complacency, everyone in Amity's used to the same old thing. We don't have any problems here, and that's great. But they also, for the sake of money and to keep things without any problems, we don't have any, whether it's crime or shark attacks or anything, we want to keep it that way. And then you got this new element, Chief Brody, who he wants to put up signs on the beach to warn people. He's very
Mm.
concerned about this, like
Mm.
right out of the box. He's
Yeah.
found the remains of Chrissy, with our buddy Jeffrey Kramer, who's on his knees, puking.
Mm.
And he's instantly concerned, but no one else is concerned. And it's because of money. And the other element new to Amity, of course, is this shark. And between Brody and this man-eating shark, these are two elements that have landed right in Amity's backyard or on Amity
Mm.
that has changed the way they've been doing things. And right in the face of these horrors, and Chief Brody basically fighting the town, and the town knowing what's going on, they don't want to really disturb the peace. They want to keep things going. So that's why I mentioned complacency, a bit of selfishness almost, if you will, with the townspeople. Everyone's kind of out for themselves. And I'll throw this at you, and if I'm getting ahead of maybe something you're going to ask me, but I've always wondered if that shark's 25 feet long.
Mhm.
I just saw a video where they just like, I'm literally talking like on Friday. I'm talking to you on a Sunday. I saw a video where these guys are in a cage or underwater, and they estimated the length of this male great white to be the biggest great white they've captured on film. It was estimated to be 20 foot.
Mhm.
So as soon as I saw that video and saw that, first thing, of course, comes to my mind, that's a 20-footer, 25, 3 tons of them. That's the first thing I thought.
Yeah.
Then I started thinking to a shark, because aside from Jaws got me intensely interested in great white sharks. And years ago, I got this academic book, The Biology and Ecology of Great White Sharks. The origins going back to, megalodons to these other subspecies of great whites and Carcharodon carcharias and all this stuff. And the point of telling you all this, that stuff I'm into, is for a shark to be a great white, to be a 20 or 25 footer, that's a very mature shark. They've been around a long time. So I want to know, what's the backstory on that son of a bitch before he came to Amity? You know what I'm saying?
It's a great question. It's a really good question.
And with shark tracking now, they show great whites that traverse the globe from Adelaide, Australia, to the Farallon Islands in San Francisco.
Mhm.
Some dive to super deep depths that they didn't believe a great white could dive to. So that the size and maturity of Bruce the shark just makes me wonder, like, what happened before it got to Amity, because it wasn't you know, just out there eating,
It,
tuna
it,
and
it
stuff.
it's a great question because I was speaking to a shark photographer and shark conservationist, a guy called Johan Ranikin, who took the Jaws photo, the really famous photograph of a great white shark that looks like the Jaws
Oh
poster.
yes, yes, I know
Yeah,
that really
r-
well.
really cool guy. And we were talking about just sharks in general. And he was saying how, he's very confident that great white sharks of 25 feet long exist. They're just
Hmm.
they're just deeper than we would ever be able to find them and see them. And to your point about where these great white sharks are swimming now, I was very excited to see a great white shark swim very close to the Bahamas. So it means that Jaws the Revenge might actually be a true story.
Yes,
Um,
exactly. And in Miami Beach, I follow a couple of Miami area Instagram pages,
yeah.
and there's a couple of great whites right off of Miami right now. And
Mm,
I go out there on my jet skis and shit. I'm always looking. I saw a super huge hammerhead once when I was
mm,
out there. I went right up onto it. It was on my jet ski. That thing was longer and wider than my jet ski. And I cut my engine, coasted up to it. My friend Curtis was with me.
mm.
He's the one who throttled the dorsal fin, and he didn't want to go near it. And he's like, "Dude, what are you doing?" And I killed the engine. And just for a second, I'm like, "Holy shit! I'm right next to a gigantic shark." And then I bumped it. Again, my engine's dead. I bumped it, and then its tail went up in the air. It dove, and it like showered me with water. And I remember
Wow.
I could hear him in the background. Holy fuck! Like, but what's interesting about the guy you're talking about, you're gonna like this,
Go on.
is um when he says we don't see these larger great whites because they could be at depths that we don't see. This is a great uh thing from the legendary Frank Mundus, who Peter Benchley supposedly based Quint on. I
Mm,
was fortunate enough to connect with Frank Mundus when he was still alive. Back around Jaws, another book that came out when I was in grade school, it was called Sport Fishing for Sharks by Frank Mundus. And my grandmother actually bought me that book. So I knew about Frank Mundus since I was a kid. And then over time, as years went by, I learned, oh, this guy, Frank Mundus himself said, yeah, Peter Benchley came out to Montauk and interviewed me, and he never gave me credit because Quint's based on me, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, what I wanted to tell you is relevant to sharks we don't see is I had Sport Fishing for Sharks, and then Frank Mundus released two other books, one called Monster Man, kind of like his own memoir, and
mm.
one another writer wrote called In the Slick of the Cricket, which the cricket was Frank Mundus's boat, in case anyone didn't know. And in oh, okay. So that's a great book. I love that. I
Very good
love
book.
that. I love that book. So Ross, um if I remember right, and I think it's in the Slick of the Cricket, and if not, it's in Monster Man, but I'm pretty sure it's in the Slick of the Cricket, that Frank Mundus says in one of these books, not Sport Fishing for Sharks, definitely in the Slick of the Cricket or Monster Man, he says there's things down there that are bigger than great whites I've ever caught. He had the world record for the largest great white caught on rod and reel, or line and reel,
Mm.
and rod and reel, whatever. He in the International Game Association or whatever would put on record there was some hang up with how they caught it or something. So it did officially go on record, but it was the biggest great white ever caught.
Mm.
And I have an 8 by 10 of that shark signed by Frank Mundus. So anyway, that book, I keep digressing. That book, he says, I've caught, basically some of the biggest great white sharks ever. I've seen everything. He goes, but let me tell you, there's stuff down there. Imagine great whites, megalodon size, whatever, that we just don't see. And the thing is, we humans, we go in the water, whether it's scuba gear or whatever, even a submarine, whatever, we're submersible. We don't move fast in the water. So anything Titanic under there can see us coming and just move out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget that. I swear it's in this Look at the Cricket. So again, circling back to your guy, the photographer, saying that, I'm like, man, friggin' Frank Mundus says something really similar to that.
Yeah.
That's pretty, yeah.
This is the thing about that I like about the shark side of the conversation when it comes to Jaws, because okay, Jaws is not a documentary, it's an entertainment. It's a heightened version of reality. However, there's quite a lot of truth to be revealed post Jaws. So sharks jumping onto boats, sharks being of a certain size, sharks being of a certain strength and behaving in certain ways. There's a little bit more truth to the creative license that they've taken with the shark than I think they realized. And our ability to observe sharks now, with being able to go to deeper depths and also to observe them from above as well, through drones and things. It just shows us what these creatures are actually capable of and how they really behave. So I think there's, I don't want to use the word truth, but I think there's a slightly more accurate version of the shark behavior in Jaws than we might have realized before. Are you ready for another question?
Okay.
Did they need a bigger boat?
Yeah, I believe they did. And there's a couple things boat related that I'd like to throw at you regarding that.
Go for it.
You got Quint, we all know Quint's the guy who knows how to hunt sharks, and he's really motivated by money and by he probably not just the 10 grand. I think he's motivated by one, to your point, psychologically facing his fears, but also to have like bragging rights. I caught the biggest great white shark ever, right?
Mm.
But the problem with Quint and his demands and everything is that it's his way or the highway. And that he's with a shark expert, Hooper. Hooper had a tooth. He knows how he could estimate how big this thing is, right? And people saw it in the estuary. So we're talking about a Titanic fish.
Mm.
The Orca is an old boat. It's all wood.
Mm-hmm.
And I pondered the question, why didn't they take Hooper's boat? He's got sonar and all this sophisticated stuff, and it's probably built like a goddamn tank. Like it should have been for a monster shark that size, not a bucket of bolts. That was the Orca. And I'll tell you, the Orca is my favorite boat of all time, by the way. But for Christ's sakes, going out to catch the shark, please, take Hooper's boat. Not only the sophisticated sonar and gadgets and everything, again, it's probably built like a tank. The guy had money. That boat was probably for 1975, probably built in a modern shipyard and just, but like if Bruce hit that thing on the side, I don't think it would be quite caving in real quick either and shit. So just saying, the point is they needed a bigger boat, and there are a number of reasons why, and why, like, again, why did Hooper propose? Maybe you could use my boat. Who knows? We can only speculate, but these are the thoughts I have.
Well, that was my follow-up question. Why didn't they take Hooper's boat? And it's a really good point. But the thing is for me, because I asked that question, it's a little bit of a trick question, but then someone caught me out on that question because they said, and they were quite right, Hooper's boat wasn't designed to catch sharks. It was designed to track them and study them, but not to catch them. So maybe they should have taken Hooper's boat as well. But I think
Well,
that
I
that would
never, I
be
never thought about that either,
no.
actually. Not to cut you off. My thought was, take Cooper's boat and mount the fighting chair on there and shit and go for it. It never occurred to me, wait, we could take two boats, you know? And now that I never thought of that ever in my life. And now you got my gears turning again. And let's talk about Chief Brody for a second. A guy who's so freaking terrified of going out on the water, and he's scared to death of this shark. Like, you think maybe he might be the guy who, because he, kind of brokered the deal to get Quint on board. Quint made his demand. When he finally was getting him to sign, it was 10 grand, but, the color TV, cases of apricot brandy. And as a negotiator, Brody, wanted to get the shark and everything, but, given some, back and forth in any deal could have said, well, hey, give you everything you want, but we're also going to have Hooper come along in his boat for backup.
But
He
you know
can
what it
track
is?
sonar, and you can throw your lines and chum out and together, and imagine how that could have turned out.
Well, this is
It
the
might
thing
all be alive.
because no, but it's a really good question. But then I think the thing that kind of trumps all of that, and to your point about Quint being this guy who catches sharks, and he's saying to the town, if you don't deal with this problem, or more specifically, allow me to deal with this problem, you're going to be on welfare because you're going to have to close the beaches and everything like that. Quint at that
Right.
point in the shack, where he's got Hooper and Brody there, and they're brokering the deal. He says maybe I should go alone, and it's like, oh shit, okay, he's holding the cards, because if he goes alone, there's no guarantee that he can prove to us that he's killed the shark. I mean, I think the only thing that was missing from that is Brody, if he was to broker it, because obviously they've got his pistol, he's taken his pistol, and they've got Quint's rifle. What they really needed to take was like an Uzi or a bazooka. That's what I would have asked for if I was Brody. I'd have felt a bit more comfortable with a rocket launcher mounted on top of the orca and just blowing.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, he's got his 38 special service revolver.
That's it. And they've got
He's got his World War II Garand or whatever.
Garand. Yeah.
And then they got Hooper's got his syringe and poison and stuff. But that's like they're ill-equipped. Aside from, they're able to shoot barrels into it, but you need something like you're saying. Give me a rocket, shoulder
air support, like airwolf or something.
Yeah,
that would be good. Yeah.
If you're going to go after Bruce, you better go heavy.
Yeah,
exactly.
Go heavy or go home.
Go heavy or go home. Exactly.
So, last question, Jeremy.
Yes.
So, it's 50 years since Jaws. We're still sitting here talking about it. And when I say we're still talking about it, not just you and I, but generally people are still talking about Jaws. Why are we still talking about Jaws 50 years later? Like, what is the legacy of this incredible movie?
I think we still talk about it because the movie is so well made. It's not just legendary, it's the way it was made. And we know behind the scenes the trials and tribulations Spielberg faced making Jaws. And Jeffrey Kramer was right on here just saying, like, every day we're being threatened to be shut down, right? The shark is broken. This is a film behind the scenes that had all these problems, but what Spielberg did, and we got to give credit to Verna Fields too, brilliant editor. They took lemons and made lemonade, right? And the film turned out to be an even older movie, Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, to me still stands the test of time. Even The Godfather is up there. There's an element like with Psychos. When I talk about, I said earlier in the interview that Jaws is almost like taking a page out of Alfred Hitchcock's handbook when it comes to suspense, because they don't see the shark the whole time. That's because of problems with the mechanical shark. So they had to figure out what to do with editing and stuff. It actually made the movie more suspenseful, more captivating. Uh, the cast was brilliant, no matter
Mm,
what. It's all these elements, and it's it's a hell of a story too, because story is paramount. So when I mentioned The Godfather, which is one of my favorite movies, it's a hell of a story. It's got a great cast. That was a movie that was also threatened to be shut down left and right constantly.
mm,
Francis Ford Coppola had a lot of issues with the production company and all this stuff. And the move when it comes to Jaws, though, it's the perfect storm of brilliant filmmaking, brilliant editing, brilliant story, brilliant cast, all converging together. And when we talk about 50 years later, those elements are so strong that I just blurted out that came together to make Jaws what it is.
mm,
50 years later, it stands the test of time because of that.
mm,
You can't help but get sucked in to the movie right out of the box. When Chrissy goes into the water and gets her leg tugged, it's like, no pun intended, you're hooked
mm,
from that moment on. And it
mm,
just goes from there. And it's I can give all these descriptions and tell viewers it why it's so important in 2025, 50 years later. It's all those reasons and much more. We discussed the emotions it evoked. You don't forget your first jump scare, no matter what movie it is, or you don't
mm.
forget a pivotal point in a movie. There's so many pivotal points that are uh, unforgettable. They're
Mm,
famous points in the movie from, again, whether it's Chrissy's shark attack to Quint raking his hand down the chalkboard, right? To being out at sea, to the Quint's monologue in the galley about the USS Indianapolis,
mm,
to the shark at the very end exploding, like image wise in your brain. Like these are snapshots that you'll never forget. And it's all of that, Ross. It is
mm.
all of these things that just came together. And look at any list, and I know you have, every time you see best movies of all time, Jaws is always up there. I've seen
Mm.
them where it's number one. It's always at least in the top five, and that's the universe, are universally people talking. Everybody knows Jaws, and there's a reason why it's so highly ranked. That's one thing. But what more importantly, so beloved.
Mm.
There's no movie like it that ever came before it or after. There's no movie ever like Jaws. And it's all that. And again, it's emotion too.
Mm.
It's just brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. And it's in my DNA. That's for damn sure. And yours. So
I
that's
think
that's the best way I can kind of sum up my point of view on why.
it's
It's all you're talking about.
it's a very tricky thing to be able to sum up 50 years of legacy. But I think
Yeah.
again, this is about the personal relationships and experiences that people have with this movie, and I think you've just summed up yours beautifully. So, and it echoes a lot of what people have said, but also very personally to you as well. So. Incredible, and just thank you for the time. I know we sort of slated about an hour, but we've been talking now for over an hour and a half now, which is just incredible. And it's been such a great
Yeah, can't believe
conversation.
it.
Every moment, it's been brilliant.
I've savored every second of this interview. This is probably, and I'm talking about my bands, my book, everything. Ross, this might be the greatest interview I've ever done.
Oh,
in my
man.
life. And you bringing out Jeffrey Kramer, dude, I'm like, I'm a hair away from a tear coming out. You made my friggin' year, dude. I'm getting emotional. This
Oh,
was, it was a lot of fucking fun too. And
yeah.
we're celebrating 50 years of Jaws, and it means the world to me. You had me on, man.
Yeah.
Like that was very thoughtful of you. It means a lot to me. So thank you. This
Oh,
was
mate.
fucking awesome, dude. Just you got me, dude. You got me. God,
Damn it, I got you in the feels.
you got
Well,
me.
before I get emotional, I mean, as for people who are listening, me and Jeremy have known each other for a long time, and it is the love of Jaws that's brought us together. And we've been through some, should we say, interesting times behind the scenes. That's all. That's all I'll say. But we've kind of got each
Yes,
other
we
through
have.
some. Yeah,
Yes.
but we've got each other through some tricky waters from time to time, put it that way. But you've always been a good friend for
Sure.
me personally, but also of the Daily Jaws. And
Likewise.
to not have you on the series would be criminal. So I'm glad that you've been able to take some time out. And like I say, it's felt strangely therapeutic for me.
This world's lucky to have the Daily Jaws because no one does what you do at all. No one can touch you. You are the premier Jaws fan entity, and you're so knowledgeable, and everything you do, man, is just, it's great, man. And 10 years already. I mean, dude, bless you, bro. It's awesome. So I just want to give applause to you. You're, aside from a great friend, I love everything you do, man. And keep it going, dude. You always have my support.
Thank
Always.
you. Oh
Yeah.
wow, thank you. Are you
Yeah,
trying to make
man.
me cry now? Is this what you're trying to do?
Yes.
So we're both end
Yeah.
up crying at the end of this interview. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Okay, I need to sign off because this is getting crazy. I've been speaking to Jeremy Wagner, the absolute Jaws legend, about Jaws for the 50th anniversary. I'll put a link to the video with Jeremy's incredible collection that was on our YouTube channel because you guys have to check that out. And until next time, more interviews and more guests to come. But until next time, I'll drink to your legs and I'll bid you a fond farewell and adieu. That's it for today's deep dive into Jaws, the film that turned beaches into no-swim zones and created the summer blockbuster. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure to follow, rate and review. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And remember, just when you thought it was safe to stop listening, there's plenty more episodes to come. Please be sure to check out the work of Minorities and Shark Sciences and also the Tourette's Association of America. That's it for now, guys, but I'll catch you next time. I'll drink to your legs.